decision after a bout of meningitis left him in a coma for 10 days and subsequently blind. CGTN's CS Duplessis has more.
At first glance, Ronald Dlamini appears to be like any other visually impaired person, and you could be forgiven for thinking that. But as the saying goes, never judge a book by its cover. The former South African MMA champion was a dominant force before his promising career was cut short.
Ooh, I miss it. Hey, I miss a lot of things. But I do miss the fighting, I do miss the cage, I do miss to be in a ring. What really calms me down is to be at the dojo and training. That calms me.
Boasting a proud professional record of 24-7, Dlamini has been in his fair share of battles in combat sports, which he believes has prepared him to knock out his disability.
Because there are situations in life that you can go through them only if you've been through that in a ring, you know what I'm saying? Like facing disappointment, like this disappointment of losing my eyesight. I've lost fights, big fights in the cage, you know. Now that I cannot see, I feel like I'm still in the fight. I'm behind on points, you know. I just have to win it.
While completing his transport and logistics diploma, he was shocked by stories from his classmates who were taken advantage of, abused, beaten, and robbed because they were blind, and he decided to act.
As I'm sitting here now listening to these bad stories, and I started feeling bad for them. I was like, no man, there's something I can do, you know. It started like that. You know, I started doing it a little bit at a college for the blind with 2 guys, and then they liked it. And then more people came. And then started like that, started growing and growing and growing.
It has been a journey of self-discovery for the man who was once the most feared welterweight in the country, and now is spreading a message of hope as a motivational speaker.
I didn't know up until I went blind that I can motivate people. I didn't know all that, you know. So like, you can only know once you are alone and you start meditating on what next you can do. Don't think too much about what you cannot do. Think about what you can do in that situation.
Ronald Dlamini was robbed at the height of his career in the cruelest of ways, but the former champion has turned his misfortune into an opportunity to change lives and equip the most vulnerable with the necessary skills to defend themselves and banish living in fear for good. CS Duplessis, CGTN, Durban.
Horse riding has become one of the most popular leisure sports in Tunisia. There are tens of thousands of practitioners across the North African country. The number of clubs is on the rise in many regions as entrepreneurs are investing in this sport. Here's Adnan Shawashi with more.
There are 43 equestrian clubs in Tunisia. Ahmed Marrakchi is the director of the Tunis Belvedere Club. He's a member of the Tunisian Federation of Equestrian Sports, which was founded in 1962.
There are 2,000 licensed athletes in this sport in Tunisia. The majority are children under 18. We have 2 disciplines, horse jumping and endurance riding. These sports are recognized by International Equestrian Federation. Our Arabian horses and jockeys are champions on the international and regional levels.
May Marrakchi is a national equestrian champion. She learned horse care as well as riding at 4. May often takes part in domestic tournaments and enjoys competing with other children.
I love this sport because I love horses. I was raised with horses. It's a fantastic sport.
Abdullah has dedicated his life to horses. He trains the animals as well as dozens of young and adult riders. The coach shares his passion for the sport with amateur as well as professional riders of all ages and social classes.
This sport starts as a hobby. Training a kid who admires horses is challenging. I need patience and determination to show the right technique. For adult learners and riders, it's more complicated. Yet it is easy to learn how to deal with a horse.
Tunisia is well known for horse breeding. Rare Arabian as well as Berber horses are available for local and foreign jockeys, as well as professional and amateur riders at many clubs, especially in mountainous regions. Tunisia has very beautiful landscapes which are adapted to horse riding. Adults as well as children are often exploring equine intelligence. In fact, their love for horse riding is growing, as well as the number of practitioners in the North African country. Adnan Shawishi, CGTN, Tunis.
In Ethiopia, the new eco-friendly Ntoto Park, located in the Ntoto Forest just outside of Addis Ababa, is set to host the postponed 2020 Great Ethiopian Run in January. The brainchild of retired Ethiopian distance running legend Haile Gebrselassie, it is the biggest road race in Africa. CGTN's Coletta Wanjohi brings us more.
On the outskirts of Ethiopia's capital, Addis Ababa, lies the Ntoto Forest. For years, the only people who came here were either women collecting firewood to sell or Ethiopia's legendary long-distance runners to train. Now, the hope is that people from around the world will visit it. That is because the forest is now home to the country's first-ever carbon-neutral health park.
No vehicle with diesel and carbon emission will be allowed in that area. So that is a different one, a health park. So it's a historical park because Ethiopia is known for its athletes. You see, athletes still now make their exercise, physical exercise in that area. So when we open it, it will be a health park. People go and make physical exercise either by jogging, running, or riding bicycles or riding a horse.
The multipurpose park was built mostly with local materials and includes indoor and outdoor centers for physical activities. It also has a library, restaurants, fountains, walkways, and bicycles and scooter lanes.
I'm standing on top of what they call the suspended restaurant. They call it so because it has been constructed on top of literary space. There's just a river, a small river that passes underneath. And from here we can get an idea of how vast the Ntoto forest is. And the forest is located at close to 3,000 meters above sea level.
This is part of the Sheger River Project, an initiative by Ethiopia's Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed to develop natural areas and in the process clean up rivers and create thousands of new jobs.
These projects have not been financed through public funds. They have been done through the goodwill of the Prime Minister and the partnerships that he has established and the friendship that he's established. So none of them have gone into government coffers as well.
But some critics have argued that the government is destroying the forest while setting up the park.
Maximum effort is made to minimize the damage to the forest. Okay, so the service area, the hotels, and some the areas where buildings are developed are selected in the Ntoto Park where there is no or minimum trees are there. You see, so it is done deliberately, just to minimize the damage to the forest.
Next month, the Great Ethiopian Run, a company owned by the legendary athlete Haile Gebrselassie, will organize an athletics competition here. The Ethiopian government is hoping that beyond sports, parks like this will boost both tourism and the economy. Coletta Wanjohi, CGTN, in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia.
The action continues on Sportscene. Here's a look at what's ahead. Nigeria's Ayo game gaining popularity as competitors seek international recognition.
Africa is a continent of diversity, with varied climate and enchanting geography, and a people so distinct, but with a shared enduring spirit. We are at the heart of the continent to bring you the untold stories.
Let's have a look.
We celebrate Africa as it shapes its own destiny.
Adnan Shawishi, Tunis, Cairo,
Juba,
Ethiopia,
Tanzania.
Africa Live. Find your voice.
How would you create your legend? On the fields, on the tracks, in the arenas of Africa. Were you born to be a player? Could this moment be yours? Sportscene. Find your game.
Welcome back to Sports Scene. We now roll our dice to Nigeria, where another board game has remained popular for several generations, and authorities are now seeking to export it to the world. CGTN's Deji Badmus tells us all about it.
It's popularly known as Ayo or Lokmo, literally meaning a game of the intellectual, a board game that has been around for decades in Nigeria, dating back to the 1970s. The game is played in a carved wooden box containing 12 holes and 48 seeds. It's typically a game of two players who take turns to play with the aim of winning seeds from the opponent's side of the board. The first to get 24 seeds is the winner of the game. Adola Moses has moved on from being a seasoned professional player to coaching new talents in the game. He says what makes Ayo unique is a great deal of brain power.
It's a game of calculation, game of mathematics. It's not a game you can just play anyhow. It's a game that have a fun gender equity. Before you make a step, you have to calculate the game very well. Because when you make a step, it's not reversible. When we talk about table tennis, you know table tennis is a skill game. You can use your bat to play. But this game is a game of mathematics. Before you make a step, you have to calculate your opponent before you play. Before you even make a step, calculate 3 steps ahead.
Ayo is best described as a game of diverse purpose. For those who play it professionally, it's a good source of income. For others, it's a good way to relax.
Sometimes when you are not happy and something is bothering you, or you are thinking of something else, if you went to where they play Ayo or sit with them, listen to their jigs. And because in Ayo, when an opponent are playing each other's, they normally make jigs. They make fun. If you are a star in this Ayo game, all the state will be looking for you.
As a friend of mine that make 3 million in this game. With the allowance, with everything, you collect 3.something million. Any sport you are doing, when you're serious on the game, you are going to make it.
The game was introduced to the National Sports Festival in Nigeria in 1998. But Ayo is not as widely acclaimed as other sports, and authorities are now seeking to change that.
We are professional in this game. If people can play very well, we want the game to be improved so that when you see football, people travel to Spain, to Portugal to go and play for club. From here, they will get visa to go and play. This game, they play it in all those countries I'm talking about. If they can expose this game, we can even get visa to travel to US, to France, to Belgium, to everywhere and play a league because they play it there on a weekly basis. So we don't even happy the way this game is now.
Plans are underway to make Ayo an international game that can feature the All Africa Games and in future, even the Olympics. If that eventually happens, these local players here would fulfill their sporting dream. Deji Badmus, CGTN, Lagos, Nigeria.
The popular board game Ludo is increasingly being taken seriously in Uganda. Ludo enthusiasts have formed clubs that compete on a regular basis, and teams could soon compete internationally. As CGTN's Leon Sinyanga reports from Kampala. Let's take a look.
Muhammad Matovu races to finish a game of Ludo. He has played this board game since childhood. He's now the captain of Silver Sport Ludo Club in the suburbs of the capital, Kampala.
You only need to know how well to move your token. We play to the clock, and you must make the right moves in a short time.
While most people in Uganda play the board game as a pastime activity, it has slowly changed into a competitive sport. Richard Eriona is a certified Ludo coach. He says one needs some expertise to be a top player.
It's not a game of chance anymore. It's about experience. You can roll 6 on the dice and fail to move your token to a right position. Sometimes you can fail to make the right calls. You need to know all that.
16 clubs participate in the National League. The Ludo Federation says more clubs will be registered for the coming seasons. This club has over 100 members. Most are men, but women have also taken interest in playing Ludo, and they have formed a team of their own. Florence Nansubuga heads the women's team here.
We have a coach. He is teaching us more about the game, and many of us are loving it.
Local Ludo players are keen on finding new challenges. Before the COVID-19 pandemic, Uganda was scheduled to present a team at this year's International Ludo Federation Championships in South Africa.
We even have hope of playing at the World Cup. We are already playing well. That is putting our game at a different level.
While it may still be a long way before these players hit the mark, they are optimistic that getting to the top will be more than just a roll of a dice, but also making the right move. Leon Sanyange, CGTN, Kampala, Uganda.
It's time for an adrenaline rush from Kenya, where the Rapids camp attracts thousands of thrill seekers from across the globe each year. The fast-paced Rapids have hosted major Africa Olympic qualifiers in kayaking and rafting. The facility guide, Peter Mbuthia, breaks down the fear that many first-time enthusiasts hold before enjoying the sport. Let's take a look at that.
When it comes to adventure, mostly it's not basically what you know, is about following instructions. The major causes of those minor bruises is that because somebody doesn't want to follow instructions, because you tell somebody don't do this, he says, I've been doing it, but they want to show themselves. When you look at the adventure side, is basically it's you. You, like for me, at my age, someone would think I can't do some of these things, but you find you're quite energetic. Like you look some of these guys who have been partying at the age of 35, they can't do what I'm able to do. You know, that is why you find most people are preferring to come to adventure once they have realized what we have been doing to our bodies. Because if you look like before, they were like, this is Wazungus, this is that. But now, after they have realized that, the traffic that is coming is quite massive. Like when you talk of rapid, we getting people from all over 135 nationalities have been to rapid, regardless of the age. You look at the kids from 3 years onwards. Most of these international schools, you'll find them here doing all the activities. Different forces, this is a home where they do all these water sports because they have realized what it means to be in adventure. Because basically it's not about us, it's about you. The most important thing, or what you should know, that when it comes to the issue about water sports or adventure, is about enlightening people what they need to do, changing that perspective that this is only for the white guys, and with as little as less than 3,000 shillings, you can have fun. You can have something that you live to enjoy and to your body, rather than the issue of partying and taking these chips and pizzas and all that.
More action ahead on Sportscene. Here's what's coming up. When we return, we shall head to Pretoria in South Africa to meet young wrestlers eyeing Olympic glory.
You don't find the stories of North Africa by sitting on the sidelines. You've got to get out, go there, and you'll find them. In the bazaars of Casablanca, among the crowds in Cairo,
who come to visit Cairo, the ancient capital of Egypt.
Along the waters of the Nile, along the sands of the Sahara. No one else will take you where we can in North Africa. No one else will show you what it's all about. CGTN, see the difference.
Welcome back to Sportscene. Let's head right back to Uganda, where athletes are preparing for their competitive debut in Wushu, the Chinese Kung Fu martial art. Wushu will make its debut as an official sport at the 2026 Dakar Youth Olympic Games. CGTN's Leon Senyange reports.
Morrison Muyomba somersaults in the air. He is practicing Wushu, a modern form of Chinese martial arts which combines acrobatic moves and combat sport. Muyomba took up the sport 4 years ago. His interest piqued by Chinese kung fu movies.
I have learned different forms like Nangquan, Taijiquan, Gongli, and many others. There are still more forms I am yet to learn, but it also teaches discipline.
Some of the athletes at this training facility have their sights set on international competitions that could come in 2026, when Wushu will be added as a competitive event at the Youth Olympic Games in Senegal. 48 athletes from all over the world will participate in the men and women's Wushu events. It will be a competitive fight for slots at the Africa qualifiers, as competitors are judged on technique. Getting Uganda's competitors to perfect every move is Ivan Senyondo's job.
This art form requires a lot of patience. Many of us think it's an easy sport. No, it isn't. It takes time to get to the best level.
The local Wushu Association is upbeat about Uganda's participation. They say it could spur more interest in Wushu.
We are expecting to visit schools. Schools go on spreading, because at least we have some experienced instructors here. They have their diploma, they have their certificates, they can teach what they know.
The art form has slowly gained popularity in Uganda since its introduction 8 years ago. About 100 Wushu students in the capital Kampala are currently taking part in training classes. Wushu made its debut at the 2008 Beijing Olympics as a demonstration sport event. According to the International Wushu Federation, about 120 million people are engaged in Wushu around the world. Leon Senyange, CGTN, Kampala, Uganda.
South African wrestling is on the rise, with more young kids signing up to clubs around the country. Boys and girls are taking to the mats to learn how to defend themselves and to pursue their Olympic dreams. CGTN Sias Duplessis headed to the University of Pretoria's wrestling club to find out more.
It is the first time since lockdown restrictions were lifted that wrestlers are allowed back into the Tuks Wrestling Club. African bronze medalist in the 57-kilogram weight division, Danki Tau, is thrilled to be back on the mats and believes that everyone should take up the sport.
Wrestling, it's a nice sport, and it's very good for a person. And when you are wrestling, you are not getting anger or something like that. Wrestling make you strong.
Boys and girls make up the classes on a Tuesday and Thursday evening, regardless of their size or weight, creating an extremely competitive environment. But for the talented 13-year-old Chloe Brevis, it forces her to be a better wrestler.
Most of the kids here is my size and my weight, and they always push me. Here is a lot of boys that are bigger than me and a little bit stronger than me, so they push me to go further.
Head coach Niels de Jager believes that the intense training levels and rivalry on the mats prepares his wrestlers for all aspects of life and equips them with the unique skills that will come in handy for the future.
It's very intense. The guys are training very hard, doing push-ups, so it's a very good all-over sport from head to toe. They learn how to fall, they learn how to attack, rolls. It's a good all-over sport.
South Africa has had many Olympians and Commonwealth Games medalists in the past, but to continue producing wrestlers capable of competing against the best, more needs to be done to nurture talent.
I believe we got some of the best junior wrestlers up to about under 15, and then because we don't have wrestling schools and sports schools, they tend to fall a little bit out of the bus. So we need to focus on those wrestlers, the cadets and the juniors, in order to achieve success at the Olympic level. But talent-wise, it's huge.
Despite all the intense training sessions, the end goal remains the same for the young wrestlers at the Tuks Wrestling Club, and that is to represent the Rainbow Nation at the pinnacle of sport, the Olympic Games.
My biggest dream is one day to go to Olympics and perform there, but one step at a time is right.
Wrestling in South Africa faces many challenges, from a lack of funding to a reduction in suitable facilities. But one thing the Rainbow Nation doesn't lack is talent. And with a rich Olympic and Commonwealth Games history, the sport has an abundance of potential future Olympians. It's just a case of providing the right support, opportunities and a little bit of luck to get these aspiring amateur wrestlers to realize their dreams. CS du Plessis, CGTN, Pretoria.
Well, that's it for this edition of Sports Scene. Remember, you can send us your feedback to the contacts on the screen and follow us on digital media platforms. Thanks for watching. Before I go, check this out. Caroline Hedwell of Sweden hit a hole-in-one on the way to grabbing a two-shot lead after the opening round in the Dubai Moonlight Classic on the Ladies European Tour in the United Arab Emirates.